Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Bachman, and this is the Introduction to the Oregon Treaty Activity video. Before we do our Oregon Treaty activity, I want to talk a little bit about how we find a location on a map. We're going to talk about how it is similar and different than graphing in math class, and how degrees are divided. This should look familiar to you. This would be a graph that you would use in math class. Now, in math class, you should be familiar with the fact that this line is called your x-axis. This line is called your y-axis. And in order to find a dot, say there's a dot right here, we would find out where it lined up on the x-axis and where it lined up on the y-axis. And that is how you would locate your dot. Now, that is very similar to what we do in geography, but instead of calling it an x-axis and a y-axis, geographers have named these lines on the earth lines of latitude, also called parallels, which was a vocabulary word, and lines of longitude. And in order to find a location on a map, we would find where it was in lines of latitude first, and then we would find it on longitude. These are examples of lines of latitude and longitude. And again, what we would know as our x's would be lines of latitude. What we would know as our y would be lines of longitude. Now, on lines of latitude, they determine how far north or south of the equator that you are. And the equator is always 0 degrees latitude. So here on this graph, or on this map, we have 1 degree north, 2 degree north, and so forth and so on. So 0 would be the equator. It surrounds the Earth around the middle and divides the north and southern hemispheres. This 0 degree line of longitude is what we would call the prime meridian. The prime meridian, again, circles the Earth going up and down, and it divides the eastern hemisphere and the western hemisphere. And so here we would have 1 degree west, 2 degree west, and so forth and so on. Now, let's say that we have a location on our map, and we'll put it right here. Now, again, just like in math, we're going to start with our x-axis, which would be our line of latitude, and we know that this dot is right on 1 degree north, and we know it's on 3 degree west. And so if I were to ask you where that was on the Earth, your answer would be that that was 1 degrees north and 3 degrees west. Again, our x-axis first, our y-axis second, just like in math. Now, that is if it lines up perfectly on two lines. Now, very little in this life lines up perfectly. And so let's say that our dot, or our location on our map, was not on a direct line, but it was kind of in the middle. So let's go with right here. Now, what do we do now? It's not directly on 2 degrees. It's not directly on 3 degrees. It's in the middle. So I want you to understand something about geography. Now, in math class, we might say that that was maybe 2.5. Now, that is not how it works in geography. Instead, geographers have determined that between each degree of latitude and also between each degree of longitude, there are not decimals like in math, but instead they have divided it into what are called minutes, like in time. In between each degree would be 60 minutes. And so if our dot here is directly in between 2 and 3, we would say that that was located at 2 degrees 30 minutes north. So again, it's between 2 and 3. Directly between 2 and 3 would be 30 minutes. So we would have 2 degrees 30 minutes north. Now, in order to find the line of latitude, it's going to be exactly the same. So we know it's directly in the middle. So it would be 3 degrees and how many minutes? Right? So it should be 30 minutes west. And so we would add on to that that it is 3 degrees and 30 minutes west. And so again, we have 60 minutes in between lines of longitude, and we have 60 minutes in between lines of latitude. That is how you find a specific location on a map, using latitude and longitude.